Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and I have a fabulous guest today. His name is Adam Miles. He is a life coach, certified life coach, and also innovator in therapeutic coaching. He does fabulous work here in the Houston area, and he's been in practice for nearly a decade. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Wendy. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited about this as well.
Awesome. I wanted to talk to you first about kind of the origins or the events that kind of pushed you into this line of work. I know you've been doing it for probably a little over a decade, but maybe you can take me back to your 20s when you were kind of trying to figure it out and life was kind of pushing you in different directions.
Yeah, I mean, this was never my dream as a boy to grow up and be a life coach. I had no plans that
I think I lost you.
How many of the sweetest things in life are unplanned, right?
Right.
So, basically, I got into this really as a direct result of some of the interesting twists and turns my life took. Starting in my 20s, getting spit out into adulthood, and realizing pretty soon that I had I was troubled by some things within myself, and those troubling things led me to just some dark places, struggles with drugs and alcohol and loneliness and uncertainty about what I'm supposed to do with my life, and just sort of all these very real problems and a lot of just existential struggles that I faced that ultimately led me, through a lot of pain and through a lot of tough times, to sort of what I call the moment of clarity when I realized that, I remember the day of getting ready for work to go to a job that I really hated,
right?
That I didn't really want to be doing, and looking at myself in the mirror, getting ready, and just seeing so clearly that unless I made some major changes, this was not going to end well. And what a gift it was to have that moment, and what a gift it was. I don't know why some people get to have those moments and why some people don't, or why some people who have the moments can act on them and some people don't. To me, it's the biggest expression of grace that I think I've ever had in my life. And it led me to, first thing, to get sober, to do something about my drinking, my drug use, and just some of the, all the sort of dark behaviors that go along with that lifestyle.
Sure.
And so that's what started me off on this path that I, sort of marvel at today. But
that's a huge aha moment when you have that realization. I think a lot of people have the realization and know that they have a problem, but actually taking the steps to remedy that and change the behaviors and the mindsets that go along with it are so difficult. Especially in your 20s, you have a lot of pride. It's hard to reach out and ask for help. You're in a pivotal time in your life, new adulthood, where you want to take control and act or feel like you know what you're doing. So it's very humbling to have to reach out and.
Yeah, it is. And it was like, at the time it was so awful, it was just like, this is the worst thing ever, right? Is what I really felt in my heart.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, looking back, like that was among the sweetest times in my life.
Really?
It really was.
That's amazing.
It's where something awoke within me. It's where whatever that spark of the divine, I don't even know what it is, that soul within me, and I think we all have,
Mm-hmm.
It was, for the first time, maybe it was awoken, and it allowed me to start taking some action that prior to that moment in my life, I wasn't willing, I wasn't able, I didn't know, I didn't have the resources. But amazing things happen when you just say, I'm done and I need some help.
Yeah, sometimes we have to get sometimes we have to get pushed just completely to the edge,
Man,
where we just can't take another step in that direction before we pay attention.
Right.
Sometimes it has to be so powerful. It's so incredible that you remember the exact day.
Yeah, the exact place I was standing, where I was living. I mean, it just kept sort of etched in me. And so, yeah, I mean, spiritual teachers throughout the eons have spoken of the dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And
for sure.
Boy, what a beautiful thing it can be, right?
It can, if you respond to it and accept the gifts being given.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I know that was a very brave undertaking for you, and I honor your journey and the fact that you were able to walk the path to sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we had been talking before, and you said around the age of 27, you embarked on another really pivotal journey and life-altering, experience. Maybe you can share that with our audience.
I guess you're talking about Afghanistan right now.
Yeah. Not every 27-year-old just packs up their stuff and goes to Afghanistan.
Well, I look back, I can't believe I did that sometimes. But yeah, so to kind of set the scene for you, I had just gotten sober. I had sort of been in recovery and working on my stuff and doing that, and soon realized that the industry, the career I was in, which I had kind of moved up in that world,
Sure.
Was ultimately going to kill me. I was pretty sure. Just that it was the restaurant business, and that whole scene was not very supportive of sobriety. It wasn't very supportive of just sort of quality of life. And so I was kind of faced with a conundrum. It's like, well, I'm making decent money. If I go start another industry, that's going to be tough financially. Plus, I don't even know what I want to do in terms of another job. And so this was in 2004, and the war in Iraq and Afghanistan had really escalated. And being here in Houston, they had these ads for KBR, which at the time was one of the main military contractors in the Middle East. So they had a job fair, and I just said, well, what the heck? Let me just go down there. I went down there on one of my days off. They interviewed, a bunch of us. They told us what it was going to be like, and I was like, wow, sounds good to me. And and so they interviewed me, and they said, well, we don't really have a job that would be sort of equal to your qualifications, but we're hiring cooks, and you're going to make this much money, and you get to, go and travel and kind of see the world if you want to. And I said, okay, and so I then began this process of just giving away all my stuff. Really looking at it now, it was really closing a chapter in my life, a chapter that I wanted to close. It was time to close. And so with all of 4 months of sobriety under my belt, I got on a plane and
I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did this. Like, seriously, I guess in a way it's good to have a clean break, because it kind of forces you to remove yourself from the social and peer group that you're interacting with, because it's hard when you embark on sobriety but no one else does.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
some people go to treatment centers. I didn't do that.
Of course not, right?
This was kind of, in a way, my remove from my life to,
Yeah. So you pack your stuff. You were there other people that you knew going over there?
I didn't know a
Like
soul.
orientation? You just
No,
went cold?
I didn't know a soul. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Oh my
But
gosh.
but it felt so good, you know. I mean, it was scary, but it was also like this big adventure,
Sure.
and I got out of this really tough job situation I was in,
Yeah.
and I got out of this, and it was a pretty, you know, small and ragged social circle that I had by that point. But I mean, I got out of that, and went off on this new adventure to Afghanistan, where I lived in you know, these little shacks, and we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Gosh, really?
And it was brutal. I mean,
That sounds intense.
but when they told us that's what the schedule would be, I'm like, they're just saying that to, you know, but it's like, yeah, they were
No, for real. It's
12 hours.
12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I guess
But it
you
was
didn't have
also-
time to get in any trouble if you're just
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. I didn't have time to get into trouble, and in my heart, I was done. You know, with my wounded ways of living, I was just done doing that. And so,
maybe it was cathartic in a way.
It was.
Just
I mean, it was. I mean, to me, it was a new freedom. It really was. It was a new freedom, even though it was like a prison work camp in a way. It was still a new freedom.
It was a gulag, but it's okay. You didn't go to rehab. You went to this Afghanistan gulag environment, but
Yeah, totally.
whatever. It worked.
Yeah, totally. It worked, and it was wonderful. And we would get these, they call them R&R breaks. You know, every 3 or 4 months, you get to take 2 or 3 weeks, and I just took those opportunities. I mean, I came home a couple times, but I took those opportunities just to pretty much go to every country I had ever dreamt of going to in my life, and I did.
Seriously, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I just every R&R, I would plan where I was going to go this time, and I just did it, and it was really great.
Wow.
Yeah.
To be able to see that part of the world too. That's incredible.
I mean, I've always been interested in other cultures and other people, and so it was a great way to satisfy that curiosity, and just to go somewhere in life, you know, because part of before I got into recovery, like everything about my life was just very stagnant and very static. Nothing was really happening, you know, that was good or exciting. And so, just the travel aspect, I mean, that was just one of the manifestations of the new dynamic life that I didn't realize this at the time, but that I was going to be embarking upon.
It must have been exciting to be able to just have that kind of time, be gifted that kind of time to just wander.
Yeah.
Wander and find yourself, really.
Yeah, it was interesting because the contract that I had was for 12 months, and my plan when I went there was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do 12 months. I'm going to come back, but that 12-month mark came, and I'm like, I think I'm going to just stay, and so I ended up staying 25 months. It was after my second year anniversary of being over there that I noticed there was some, it's like wherever you go, there you are. And whatever the issue.
So true.
Right?
Yes.
And in a way, part of this was a geographic cure, kind of a runaway from
sure.
And it worked for a while.
Sure.
But towards the end of my time in Afghanistan, I realized that, basically all the reasons for which I, basically drank and used over, all those underlying emotional
wounds,
things, they were still there. Right. And they were starting to come up. And so I wasn't, by the end of it, I wasn't terribly happy anymore. I was still battling some of my inner demons, in the places that I was stationed as a contractor. There were no 12-step meetings. There were no, there's no
Yeah.
kind of therapy or real support or anything like
Right.
that. So,
Right.
I was, all those underlying issues were still there. And so by the
You're also
time,
very isolated, I would think. You're just kind of in survival mode, and you probably didn't have anyone to really support you.
yeah, I made some friends there, but it seems like everybody, or at least most of the people over there, like we were all kind of running from something, like people don't take these kinds of jobs who are on a winning streak in their life. These are kind of,
It's a certain
some,
profile. Right. I can understand that. So you came back, and
I don't know if you can hear me, Wendy, but
yeah, I can hear you. You
It just
froze for a
froze.
second.
I
Yeah.
didn't hear what you said though, because it froze.
Oh, I was just saying you came back, and then there was probably a reentry phase, right? After being gone and abroad for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
What did
I
you
had
do
yeah.
after that?
Well, so I came home and, I'd had this experience. I was able to save up some money and I didn't really have a good plan. I knew that when I came home, I wanted to just kind of start living a regular life. It's kind of what I thought I was going to be doing, whatever that means. Get a
Right.
job, get a girlfriend. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But when I got home, and especially when I got home and wasn't working all that and had some actual time, like I noticed some of the issues were really bubbling up within me. Some of the unresolved emotional stuff, the pain, whatever, was really, and I kind of entered into a little bit of a depression. And I wasn't sure. Like I thought, well, I'll just volunteer a lot, or I'll keep traveling and see if I can maybe teach English in some other country or whatever. But I had this really profound experience within just a couple months of going home. I was at a recovery group, and we at that group, like you share your name and number on this little thing for newcomers who have questions and stuff. And so I had always done that. I'd never been called, whatever. So I was driving around, kind of thinking about what am I going to do now, And I got this call from a man who was about 2 or 3 days sober. He was in so much pain. He was crying. His wife was leaving him. He wasn't going to be able to see his daughter. And at this point, I had been sober now about 2.5 years, although hadn't really done a whole lot of recovery work, but I was, still sober. And so I just started talking to this man. I said, hey, it's, I don't know what I said. Hey, it's going to be okay. Let me go meet you at a meeting. We'll talk, whatever, just kind of doing the newcomer spiel that I knew how to do.
Right.
And we got off the phone, and I had to pull the car over because I was having so many feelings coming up.
Really?
Tears of joy. And the joy was of course not in the suffering that this man was going through, but like, I heard the voice of whatever telling me, Adam, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to share your experience and strength and hope, and you're supposed to help people.
That's so beautiful.
And nothing was clear.
Wow, that's so divine.
Yeah,
it was divinity.
Another one of those moments that just etched into my consciousness.
Wow.
So basically I recommitted to my recovery work, and for the next, couple years really, I just did everything I could do around healing and recovery and retreats. And like, if somebody said, hey, there's this thing, like, yes, I'll do it, before they could even finish or explain.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know that inner work is so challenging. So I acknowledge you for that. Having the courage to go in there and excavate all that stuff. But I find that typically through our deepest, darkest nights and suffering, we can draw on that experience later to really do powerful work and be in service to others, which is what you're doing now. So it's a tough road to travel, but when you get on the other side of it, boy, you have so many gifts to offer. I just want to thank you for choosing you and listening to that voice, following that inner guidance too. It sounds like you were really being nudged and kind of guided along your path.
Yeah, definitely. Nudged and guided and a ton of support. You know, it just seems like, you know, like kind of what I was saying earlier, my experience was when I stopped just trying to run the show myself and basically like, I can't do this on my own. I need help. Like that's
such a powerful moment. The surrender of that ego, right? Surrendering the ego, just opening the heart and accepting the grace being given, right?
Yeah. And then the people, the right people just start showing up, the right situations start showing up. There's a flow to it.
Yes.
And
definitely.
And it's not easy, obviously. I mean, you know, it's difficult. It's not like it's all, you know, roses and rainbows.
I think the
after
hardest
that.
thing that we can all do is actually face ourselves and actually own who we are and what we've done and all of those vulnerabilities, you know, being vulnerable with ourselves and then also compassionate and loving towards ourselves, because there's so much judgment and shame about different things in our lives. So to overcome that is certainly walk to my own path.
Right.
I've certainly had to go through my skeletons in my closet.
Absolutely.
It wasn't pretty. It was kind of a dark crawl for a while, but you get there eventually. You know.
Eventually you get through. And now, look at you and look at all the good things you're doing for the world.
One day at a time.
Yeah, well, that's
right.
right.
Try to show up to the best of your ability. But
yeah.
What were you doing, Adam? I know you were doing a lot of inner work. What were you doing? Did you just take some time off? Did you have some money saved, or did you have a job lined up, or what were you doing?
Yeah, you know, I took some time off because I was fortunate enough to be able to save some money when I was working overseas, and you know, I kind of piddled around with odd jobs here and there, you know, that would come up, but didn't have a whole lot of need. You know, I'm so grateful I had that time to be able just so many people have to do this and they're in the middle of their life, you know, and it's just like,
they have kids and responsibilities and they're trying to juggle everything. So fortunately you were young enough, you weren't tied down, you didn't have children, you could really focus on you, which was a gift. And I know that I just feel like you have such a gift of removing emotional blocks. You have like this intuitive gift when you work with people. How did you fall into coaching? How did that find you, or how did you find it?
So you know, I had done a lot of different types of healing work. You know, you know, a lot of things that were focused on interrupting addictive behaviors. A lot of things. You know, I did the Mankind Project. Many years ago, which was really a profound moment in my life, because there was a moment during that weekend experience where I really unplugged and touched some of my deepest pain that I sensed it was there, but I had no idea how to get to it. And so that opened up this cork, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I got connected with this other group where I just initially just started going there for my own, but quickly realized they had some men's groups and some women's groups, and and the process they taught, which has a lot to do with emotional release, I really took to their process, and it made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, it was like my crying years, for lack of a better way to put it. It's like,
Right.
just like,
that's how we shed so much. I don't think people realize, but the process of crying is really not just the tears, but it's really a shedding and releasing of so much.
well, I mean, I believe it's our built-in healing system.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You have it, your body heals physically, when you cut yourself.
Yeah, but emotionally, that's how we heal ourselves. And I think
absolutely
the tough thing is men are not conditioned to or given permission to cry. So that's a thing too.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
Being able to allow yourself to go there. It's hard. Yeah, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're able to release all that pain.
Yeah, I mean, me too. It's like, I think each gender has its own just crippling sort of things that happen to women, things that happen to men. I know men, and it seems like increasingly women too get this emotional repression stuff where it's just like, big boys don't cry, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and get on with it, all that.
That's really tough.
I mean, I heard variations on that message my whole life, and had the true belief that crying was weakness.
Of course, so, most men have that.
Yeah.
So that's so fantastic that you gave yourself the grace to do that, and it sounds like you pursued and got trained in some different kinds of healing modalities along the way. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So the place where I did a lot of my personal work, and then was eventually invited to collaborate to work with them, was basically sort of a almost a 4-year. It wasn't a formal program. It was being developed into a formal program, but that's where I did a lot of my work, so to speak, in terms of the mindset that I think this is pretty true. It's like, whether it's a coach or a therapist or whatever the type of healer a person might be, it's like, I can really only take someone as far as I've gone myself, so to speak.
Right.
And so, that program that I was in, really the primary focus was on doing your personal work. And so that was the main thing that I did there. I did some other things that sort of some Native American traditional ceremonies. I did that for a number of years. I've had shaman work on me a few times. I've had energy work done. And so I really availed myself to everything
available to you.
Available. But in terms of the training, it was really focused on this coaching piece, and then also in my mind, the need to deal with the emotional blockages. I mean, you can set any kind of goal you want to set for somebody or yourself. Yeah, but if you're blocked emotionally,
right,
it's just going to be another thing you failed at and feel bad for yourself about. Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So when did you recognize that you had this gift? Because you really do have a gift of helping people move through their suffering and helping them to transform their lives. Was there a pivotal moment when you realized this is something I really have a gift for, or was it pointed out to you by people around you? Did it just happen organically?
Yeah, I mean, it was pointed out to me. In fact, I just know, even you saying, acknowledging the gift, it's like there's some little part of me is like, what is she talking about? But the bigger part of me knows that is true. And so it wasn't this, I've had a number of aha moments in my life.
Mm-hmm.
realizing that I have a gift for this has not been an aha moment. It's been more of a gradual. So, you know, when I first started working with people sort of under supervision, you know, my first few clients that I started coaching, you know, there would be that moment in a session where, you know, they would have a breakthrough. And that breakthrough wasn't because I connected some dot for them that they weren't able to connect for themselves. It's because I was able to hold the space of a loving compassion, and they were able to connect it themselves.
Absolutely beautiful.
So, man, the first few of those experiences I had was so fulfilling to me. You know, it was just like, oh my gosh, it's like when you breathe, you know, after having held your breath for a few moments, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh, this feels so right to me. And so that, you know, that was, in hindsight, I guess, the emergence of the realization that, you know, I could do this. Like, I could do this for people. This could be my main thing that my life could be about. And then just, you know, I call it just time in the seat, you know, just, you know, set, you know, thousands of hours of sessions, and then it just sort of becomes alive within a person, I think. You know, at least that's my experience.
For sure. What have you learned about yourself through all of this? What has been the most pivotal and powerful lesson you've learned coming through all of these challenges and navigating through all of the suffering and getting yourself to this place? What has been the most powerful lesson for you?
Well, probably the most powerful has been to realize, my goodness, you know, before I got into recovery, before I started doing any kind of personal inner work, my life was really dominated by shame. And you know, shame, as I define it, is, well, you know, there's guilt, which is like, I feel bad because I did something crummy, right? I mean, that's an appropriate human emotion. But shame is like I feel bad because I'm the mistake, I'm bad, you know? And so I didn't know it at the time, that is what was the foundational piece that governed my day-to-day life. But it was. And so I think that all of us as human beings, whatever our innermost beliefs are, we tend to create scenarios in our life to validate those beliefs. It's almost like we need to have some equilibrium or some integrity in our innermost beliefs. And so, like, I felt like I was bad, so I would just create situation after situation, unknowingly, of course. I didn't.
Sure, it's subconscious.
You know, to verify the truth. Like, see, here, I should. I knew, because I'm a, you know, whatever. And so what has happened over time is that shame has been replaced
with love,
with a sense of, fundamentally, I'm a good person. And which was, I mean, I couldn't even say that when I was first invited to say that about myself. I couldn't even say it because I just didn't believe it. And there was so much pain around that. And so that has probably been the biggest deal, you know, is that, you know, I have a lot of flaws. I have tons of shortcomings, you know, all this is true. And I'm a good person. Like, wow, what a revolutionary thing, you know.
Very powerful.
It is, right? I mean, and I think we're all good. I mean, I think, you know, I think
we all are inherently good.
Yeah.
Definitely. The inability to see it is the obstacle. You know?
I think so. And I often wonder if it is the primary obstacle in why people suffer in this life.
Absolutely. I think if we could get people who come to us and people in general to remove the judgment around the experiences, it can really change the outcomes, because really every experience is an opportunity for us to grow. It's an opportunity. It's a gift. It's even in the suffering, there's a gift. And the gift is we're being shown something about ourselves that we can change or transmute in a way. So if we stopped looking at it as this horrible thing we did or this terrible experience or shameful thing we created, instead of looking at it, from a different point of view as a gift, and seeing that it was just really an experience for our soul growth and evolution, that would be, I think, powerful for people.
Yeah, I do too. But and much like you, I'm sure, I spent a lot of time thinking, how do you do that for people? Like, how do you create a setting where a person can get to that very awareness that I spend a lot of time thinking, like, I've been given it, and like, how could I help other people receive their own gift? And I think it is something about that shame or that feeling that so many of us have, that like I'm just, something's wrong with me. There's something about me that's just fundamentally wrong, and I'm never going to get it right. And it's like that belief, that foundational belief, I think then it is why we do stuff
to perpetuate the story.
That does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, and so that's really what I feel most passionate about with people that come to see me is like, let's understand your story. Let's see what in there, where in there you might have lost sight of who you really are. And when we start working backwards and can get back to some level of that, that's when people's lives transform, in my experience.
Adam, how can people find you? I know that you can coach people all over the country. They don't have to be here in Houston, Texas. So share with us, and I will drop it down in our edited video, your web address or the best way to contact you, email or whatever that might be.
Yeah. Email is a great way to get in touch with me, and that can be accessed through my website. It's Miles Therapeutic Coaching.com, all one word. And that's the most direct way to get in touch with me. I do see folks in person at my office here in Houston in the Heights, and I do work with folks remotely through FaceTime and through phone sessions too, if FaceTime's not even an option.
Awesome, so, beautiful. So many people, I'm telling y'all, call Adam. He works magic. He's magic.
Well,
I've heard it from more than one person. So I'm telling you guys, if you're struggling, he's your man. He can really help you move through difficult times. I wanted to transition our conversation a little bit, Adam, because I know you have this passion project called the Legacy Project.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you came up with that idea?
Sure. Yeah.
What it's about?
It's I call it Legacy Interviews is kind of the full name of it. And I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you how I got it. So what it is in addition to my coaching work, I'm also a photographer, videographer. It's been a passion really that's evolved into a side business that I really love doing, and realizing that I'm always looking for synergies, so I do this coaching. A lot of the coaching involves talking about people's life story. Like, I feel so honored that I get to hear people's life stories. Yeah. It's really a deep privilege of mine. And there's such power in people's stories.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I have two delightful children, Wally and Hazel, and my wonderful supportive wife, Lindsay. We have this really sweet small family. And I think about my grandfathers who are both deceased. One of my grandmothers is deceased.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how valuable our lineage, the story of our lineage can be. So, I had this thought one day, boy, I sure wish my kids could hear their grandparents' stories, from their mouth and
Right.
sort of from their, see them in live, and I thought, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to do for people, to create a high quality video where myself and with my background, I interview them about their life story, their childhood, their adolescence, their young adult years, their elder years, what lessons they've learned, what struggles they've overcome, what they would want future generations to know. I just think this is an invaluable gift. And so I kind of sat with it for a while and talked it over with my wife, and she was like, that's absolutely something to do. And so
beautiful work.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And we just sort of launched it a few months ago, and I've done a couple of these videos now, and it's everything I hoped it was going to be. I mean, it's really great, and it feels so good to be able to support families in this way by letting the people who are now sort of towards the end of their life be able to leave their legacy told by themselves in sort of live action on this for me. Will be around for forever, basically. I mean, there's no reason it would ever deteriorate or go away, being digital. So
that's such a great idea. So I hope this takes off,
Yeah, I think it will.
I have no doubt it will, actually. I don't hope I know it will. So I honor the work you're doing to help families preserve those memories and be able to pass that on through the generations,
Absolutely.
Your calendar must be so full with coaching, and then doing this legacy work takes several hours, and then editing and
it's involved in being an active father and husband and taking care of myself. Like it's a little bit chaotic at times, but
balance is so tough to maintain when you're being pushed and pulled. I've only met you in person once, but you have this vibe of just total calm, and on the outside anyway, you sure feel balanced and centered.
What's the thing about the ducks on the water? They look all calm underneath there. Yeah.
What do you do for self-care? How do you honor yourself and take care of yourself?
So I actively go to support groups. I mean, at least weekly, if not more frequently than that. I have several men in my life who I've known for many years who are also on their own healing journey, who I talk to regularly, interact with. So that's one piece that I do that involves me not being isolated, right? I need to be connected to other people, because healing happens in connection, I believe.
Yes.
I'm also a meditator, and I've been a meditator for many years. And so that has been, in its own right, just a beautiful experience.
Such a great practice.
To learn how to get your mind to work for you versus you working for your mind is
absolutely.
Talk about a gift that I wish I could give to everybody. I have so much suffering just with the monkey mind that can dominate people.
Absolutely. There's a lot of apps out there for people who want to learn how to meditate. There's so many apps out there, and you don't have to be a lot of people meditate in different ways too. Some people meditate while they run, or they meditate hiking in the mountains, or they meditate when they're dancing. I think there's so many different ways to meditate, so it doesn't have to be just pure silence.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, when I first tried to meditate or thought I wanted to learn how to meditate, I just imagined, sitting in the lotus cross-legged position, humming or whatever. Yes. And it's that's definitely one way to do it, but there's generally it's meditation is working with your mind to have it do what you want it to do. I mean, that's kind of what a very, I guess, wide angle definition of meditation is. And so, yeah, like you said, any type of meditation that is restorative, that allows your mind.
I mean, it could be art. It could be you expressing yourself in art when you're in that connection and that passion, and time ceases to exist.
Oh, yeah.
That's a form of meditation.
You're right.
I mean,
I find that, in sessions, listening to people, holding space.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not thinking about me, and that's a wonderful thing to do. So.
The time goes so fast, too.
I know, it just goes like that.
That hour goes so quick.
Yeah.
Well, people are so lucky to have you in their lives.
Oh, thank you for saying
They're so lucky.
Yeah.
I hope more people find you through this interview, because I know it can really help people change the direction of their lives if they're willing to connect.
Yeah, it seems like just the right people show up at just the right time.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah.
But you have a beautiful family. I know that you have a beautiful wife, Lindsay, and these gorgeous children who are, how old are Hazel and Wally?
So Wally's 3.5, and Hazel is, she'll be 18 months.
Yeah, those are fun years. Christmas is going to be fun for you guys this year.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great this year.
It's going to be magic. It's going to be magic.
The conversation of Santa happens multiple times every day now. So that's.
Yeah, I bet he's ready.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how has becoming a father changed you?
Oh, wow. What a question. I mean, it has been the single most transformative, since I started my journey. It's been the single most transformative experience of my life. And really, it starts with my marriage to Lindsay. I mean that, prior to me meeting her, one of the manifestations of my sort of shame belief was that, I'm just not, no one would ever want to, marry a guy like me, or, it would just, it would probably wouldn't work out for, I just had all these beliefs about my ability to be in a true partnership. And so when I met Lindsay, I met her at a meditation group, actually. And so we had a spiritual commonality and a recovery commonality. And we embarked on this journey, and it was tough. Relationships, it's like you feel safe enough with somebody and all your darkest stuff comes up.
I know, right?
That's really what kind of happens, right? And so, and so you can either point that darkness at your partner and say, oh, I must have chosen the wrong person. Let me go choose someone else.
Right.
Or you can say, okay, this is my stuff. I want to work on it.
Yeah.
And so her and I did a lot of work on us just being together. And thankfully she was willing to do the work with me, which was, and so.
So amazing. So amazing.
It's
a partner like that.
Oh my God. It's like, talk about, I feel like I've won the lottery with my wife, it's better than the lottery.
I think it goes both ways. I think we're both, in a partnership, we're reflections for each other. So you're both.
I totally agree with that.
Got lucky. We're not lucky, but you found the right person, and what a gift that is.
Yeah. Finding someone who's willing to do the work is like, golly, that's probably more important than anything else, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And so, so we worked really hard on our relationship. I mean, we did the nitty gritty work so that I could really trust her fully, because I had all these.
It's so hard.
Trust.
Of course. Everybody comes to the table with something.
Oh my gosh.
Or multiple things.
Multiple
in my
things.
Case.
Let's check your baggage and get to work on it.
Right. I mean, it's such a process to excavate all that stuff. And I really feel like our partners are the ones that reflect our issues to us on the daily, on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it for sure is, if you're willing just to open your heart and recognize what's being brought to the surface and then go there without pointing the finger. Because really it all comes down, like I realized, wait a minute, this a lot of it comes down to me. What am I doing to create this or contribute to this
Absolutely,
situation? Yeah. What do I need to change in myself to heal or resolve what's happening here? Or at least shift, because we only have control over ourselves, really. But our partners are such a good mirror and a good trigger. Trigger is a good word.
Yeah, no, totally.
Ways, right? For change, for personal change.
Absolutely.
So.
And even in addition to that, like, I think the people that we choose are the ones, I think it's a spiritual, like
contract.
Yeah, exactly. A spiritual contract. Like, I needed someone.
Yeah.
I needed my wife to do the work that I needed to do, right? And perhaps the same is true for her. I imagine it is, but it's like I needed her perfectly imperfect being for me to grow, and all the stuff about how we are drawn to the familiar, the Imago model of, we sort of are attracted to people who are some combination of the negative and positive traits of our parents, like I totally believe that's true.
That's so true.
Right. And so, and that gives us the opportunity then to, like, not only not be confused about that this really isn't about her, but it's really about me and stuff that goes back to, who knows, maybe.
I hate it when I realize that. I hate that. I'm like, oh wait, this is my shit.
I've never told that to anybody, that Imago thing, who hasn't just like, no, I don't want to hear that. That's no. And it's like, well, okay. You don't have
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's true. It's definitely true. I think people give up too easily on their relationships.
Yeah,
I think people don't realize that, what? If you don't resolve what's happening with you in this current relationship right now, and you break up with that person or whatever, that next person is going to come and reflect that same exact lesson to you over and over.
Yeah.
Until you resolve that.
Agreed.
It's going to keep presenting it. That person may have a different look or name or energy, but those lessons have a way of recycling until we get it in a more aggressive and hostile way too.
Probably.
Like, but I'm so glad you found an awesome partner and you have these kids in your life. What a gift.
Won the lottery. It is how I feel. And then it set the stage to have children, of course,
Right.
To have someone who I know can stand shoulder to shoulder with me, and that I can stand shoulder to shoulder with her
as a partner.
It's so hard. The work and the exhaustion and all the worry and all that goes along with becoming a parent.
Sure.
It's like, that was really, really hard, and still is really, really hard. But to have a marriage that is generally in harmony is like, oh, thank God, that's going well. I see.
Yeah, to be able to have a real partner.
Oh my God.
And the journey is so powerful, and you're so blessed to have that.
Oh, you are so right about that. Yeah.
I have to meet her. We'll have
I hope we can connect. Yeah, I think that would be. She's.
No, we will for sure.
She's a phenomenal woman. That's for sure.
We figured that out.
Yeah.
But Adam, this has been so great. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're so busy right now.
Oh, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm happy to make time to do this. And you're doing important work in this world.
Thank you.
I'm honored I get to be a part of
Thank you so much.
This interview.
I always ask everybody if you can share a couple words of wisdom to help people who might be struggling right now in their personal lives. I know you have so much experience and in your personal life and your professional life and helping people navigate troubled waters.
Yeah.
If you could just share a couple of tools that maybe somebody could use who's really, really suffering right now in their life.
Well, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is find someone who you can talk to. Like, it doesn't have to be a professional like me. It can be a trusted friend. It could be a trusted family member. It could be, you know, we can find these people anywhere. Mm-hmm. But, you know, any problem shared is halved, is my belief. And so when I can just find someone who I can talk to, who's not going to judge me or criticize me or give me a bunch of ridiculous advice or whatever, but just to be able to connect with the heart of another human being, to share what is so heavy is the most important thing that I would offer to someone. And then the other thing, the other little bit of wisdom that I've been taught in my life that I would want other people to know is that there's always another perspective on whatever it is that you're facing in life that's difficult.
So true.
There's always another way to look at it. And sometimes, I mean, I'll just use my own life as the example here, for a long time, I really believed that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. And that was just the only thing I could look at, so to speak, in my life. And to have someone challenge that perspective and get me just to let go for a minute of this tight grip I had on this belief, and even just consider there might be goodness within me, really started the ball rolling. And so that would be the other thing is realize there's probably another perspective on what it is that you're facing.
Thank you so
Sometimes
much.
we need other people. They kind of connect, I guess, because sometimes you have to talk to somebody to get the other perspective on.
Absolutely. I think in suffering, people retreat, right? Instead of connect. When you're suffering, when you're in pain, you want to go in the dark. You want to get in bed and pull the covers up and just shut the world out. And that really is not the place you're going to find solace or comfort. That's a place where you really go deep, and and that's part of the process, but it's really easy to get stuck there.
Yeah,
Connection is very helpful. Like you said, you share the burden.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's hard too, because, I think the reason why a lot of folks struggle with reaching out for help, even just to a friend to talk about it, is because they've tried it in the past and it didn't go very well. Like something happened, it's like, so they're like, so in a way we kind of give up on our fellow human, that there's, and there's a hopelessness that then settles in with all that.
Absolutely.
And so, I say that, find someone to talk to with full awareness that the reason that you're not is probably because you've been really hurt by trying to do that in the past. And sometimes that's when we have to draw upon the resilience of our spirit, just to I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try to find another person.
One more time. Just one more time. Get up one more time and
just one more time. Yeah.
Give it a go. That was so beautiful. Yeah. Your words of wisdom are amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else?
I'm happy to share them, and I didn't come up with them. I'm just passing on what I've been told.
Yeah, well, it's awesome content. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I thank everyone who's ever helped me along the way, because
Oh
that's
gosh. It's really interesting. I really,
I don't think I've ever come up with a truly original thought.
You're expressing them beautifully, so thank you for sharing. But I think it's really incredible how as you sort of find your way out of wherever you are gifted, or you have to trust that the right people are going to show up at the right time. So
Well, what a leap is that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to trust that the right people are going to show up at the right time. And I was listening to something, and I can't remember his name. Maybe it was Michael Beckwith, I think. And he was saying, you have to change your questions from disempowered questions to empowered questions. So instead of asking yourself, why me? How did this happen? I'm unlucky. My circumstances put me here. You change your dialogue or your inner dialogue to what's possible for me? What's the next step? How can I change my behavior to change this outcome? You start to ask empowered questions and allow the universe to gift you those answers, because you'll always get answers to every question you ask. So asking empowered questions can really change the dialogue and the direction of your thinking, which in turn changes the direction of your behavior, right? Because your thoughts drive your behavior.
Yeah. Very well put. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I hope people will consider that too on their journey towards healing.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agreed. Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much for your time today. I think I'm going to wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to share to be complete?
No, I feel complete, and it was a real treat to get to do this.
Yeah, thank you for carving out time. I know your time is so valuable.
Wendy, thank you so much.
Yeah. I really want to honor
your work is valuable, so I'm happy to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, to my audience, yes, thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, and share if this content resonated with you. I love you all, and I encourage you to love yourselves today and be kind to yourselves. Thank you. Bye.